my god, this thing's horrible! Hello there, you're watching the Pokemon Colosseum in-game tier list. I forgot to say premium. Hello there, you're watching the premium version of the Pokemon Colosseum in-game tier list. If for some reason you would like to see the full live stream with the chat enabled, you'll find a link to that, as well as the entire Imported Cheese Fresh channel in the description below.
Hold it!
Hey, spooky voice-only Imported Cheese here. I'm gonna use Forewarn, bad ability by the way, and let you know that the preamble for this tier list is about 20 minutes long. Because Colosseum is such a bizarre game, there's a ton of mechanics I need to explain. If you just want to see the rankings, there are time codes below you can use to skip ahead. So what is Pokemon Colosseum? Well, it's technically a spin-off, but they didn't spin very far, it wasn't a rapid spin. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to the mainline games. A lot of the battle mechanics are the same, but there are some ones unique to Pokemon Colosseum. So let's discuss all of those. So to begin with, for people who have never played Pokemon Colosseum, it's a Gen 3 game. So all of the Gen 3 mechanics apply. That means that there's no stat XP system, you've got EVs. You've really got EVs because you start with Espeon and Umbreon. The Pokemon that are available only go up to Gen 3. You might notice most of them are actually from the Johto region, and the Johto region is best known for having just excellent Pokemon to select from, which is why you always used Kanto Pokemon in Gen 2. The physical special split is a Gen 4 mechanic, so that means it's not in this game. That means that whether a move is physical or special depends entirely on the type. So every single ice move is special, every single dark move is special, sad sneasel noises, and like every single rock move is physical. In general, there not being the physical special split means that your Pokemon are weaker. Because that's what you want to hear in a list of mainly Johto Pokemon, that your Pokemon are even weaker. Another unique thing about Colosseum is that the level curve is really different. It actually starts at about 25, because that's the level that your Espeon and Umbreon starter begin at. So it's as if you started from the 3rd gym. When I was younger, I thought that was really cool, but now I think it's just because they wanted to make less of the game. They just skipped the beginning. I guess it wouldn't make sense for an experienced trainer like Wes here to actually start with noob Pokemon. I guess it's kind of like how Death Knight started level 55, right? Wouldn't make sense to be a noob. Sounds like an excuse to me. The most defining feature of Pokemon Colosseum is that every single battle is a trainer battle. There are no wild Pokemon, and every single battle is a double battle. So that means we have to consider a whole different set of mechanics than we normally would. So Gen 3 double battle mechanics are a bit different than the ones we're used to. Spread move damage actually works differently. So spread moves are ones that target multiple things in doubles, either only your opponents or everything on the field. In modern games, spread moves, no matter who they target, only do 75% of their total damage. In Gen 3 only, that's different. So spread moves that target only opponents, such as Heat Wave, they actually deal 50% of their usual damage, which is kinda brutal. That makes them a lot weaker than you might expect them to be. But if the spread move targets everyone, including your allies, that would be moves like Earthquake, it actually does full damage. Whoa! So, Earthquake good! But I think you knew that already. So I mentioned earlier that there are no wild Pokemon. So you might be wondering, how do you actually get new Pokemon? Well, one of them is given to you. There's one gift. But for the most part, you steal them from the opponent. Ooh. I guess it's not called stealing, it's called snagging. It's stealing. And you can only steal very specific Pokemon. They have to be Shadow Pokemon. What's a Shadow Pokemon? So, Shadow Pokemon come with their own set of unique mechanics. Being a Shadow Pokemon is mostly downside. The whole point of the Shadow Pokemon program was to make Pokemon into killing machines to improve them. And I mean, when you're working with horrible garbage like this, Cypher did nothing wrong, guys. They did what they had to try and make these Pokemon better. So all Shadow Pokemon in this game have Shadow Rush as one of their moves, and Shadow Rush is the only Shadow move. So Shadow Rush is 90 base power, and it's typeless. And it deals recoil damage to you, but it doesn't deal recoil damage the way that other recoil moves do. So normally, recoil damage is a percentage of the damage you deal, but for Shadow Rush, it is always 1/16 of your total health. Now, since every Pokemon you can catch is a Shadow Pokemon, and every Shadow Pokemon has Shadow Rush, and Shadow Rush deals recoil damage to you, you can imagine that catching things is really annoying, because every Pokemon can knock themselves out. Wonderful! It's worth mentioning that Shadow Rush is physical, and that for some Shadow Pokemon, it's actually the best attacking option they ever get, which is really sad. All Shadow Pokemon have a Shadow Meter. It's like an XP bar, but it's purple, so that means it's evil. Initially, the Shadow Meter is full, and their only usable move is Shadow Rush. As you purify the Pokemon, they'll eventually unlock their other 3 moves. And once you fully purify them at the Relic Stone, then Shadow Rush will be replaced with whatever that move was supposed to be. How do you purify Pokemon? There's a couple ways. One is just walking around with them in your party will gradually drop the Shadow Meter. I say gradually, slowly. The fastest way to purify the Pokemon is to actually send it out into battle. Sending it into battle will drop the meter by a little bit. And occasionally during battle, Pokemon will enter what's called Hyper Mode, where their emotions rise to a fever pitch. In Hyper Mode, you'll lose your turn when you enter it, which is kind of annoying. And in Hyper Mode, the only move they can use is Shadow Rush, but they actually get a highly increased crit rate with that. It ends up being, I think, plus 70% crit, so you'll almost always crit with Shadow Rush in Hyper Mode, which is surprisingly useful. In Hyper Mode, you can actually select your non-Shadow moves, but if you do that, you're just wasting your turn, because your Pokemon will be confused and unable to act, or they might try to attack the enemy trainer, which just counts as wasting your turn. When a Pokemon is in Hyper Mode, you can actually use the Call command to snap them out of it, which will end up dropping their Shadow Meter by a huge amount. And as the Shadow Meter drops, you'll also get to see more info about your Pokemon, because initially on Shadow Pokemon, you can't even see their nature or their ability. You have to purify them before that information becomes available. So the main reason that you want to actually purify your Pokemon is because Shadow Pokemon cannot level up. Once 2 bars of the Shadow Gauge have been dropped, they can start accumulating XP and effort values, but they can't actually cash in any of those points until they're brought to the Relic Stone and fully purified, and once again able to experience love, even though nobody would love any of these losers in the first place. And different Pokemon actually purify at different speeds. Most Pokemon purify at about 10 battles is what it'll take. But for some, I guess, shadowier Pokemon, like the legendary dogs, it's gonna take you much longer, so between like 20 and 30. So the whole shadow mechanic is kind of an extra tax on how long it takes for Pokemon to actually become usable. You can see here that powerhouses like Slugma are just extra evil. They had to nerf it somehow. We're actually gonna do a mini review of Pokemon Colosseum, since I imagine a lot of people haven't actually had the chance to play it, and I'm actually able to give my perspective on this game from 2 different times. So, when I was a young cheese, I was really looking forward to this game. I remember my local EB Games, maybe you've heard of that store, ended up getting the game I think 1 day early, and I was so excited I couldn't sleep. So I can confidently say, having just replayed this game for the Pokemon Snag Swap Challenge, link in the description, I can say both from a young perspective and from a current perspective, or, I mean, I'm still kinda young, I'm 28. This game sucks. It's awful. It is actually awful. So, younger me expected Pokemon Stadium 3. I think is fair, right? I mean, they named the game Pokemon Colosseum. I expected it to be a full battle simulator with all of the rental Pokemon, with the single-player RPG tacked on. Well, it definitely does feel tacked on. I don't think I would even call it half-baked. They didn't even turn the oven on, okay? Even though it's set in the desert, they didn't bake anything. The desert setting is really fitting because there's nothing in this game. It is about 3 very dingy hallways, and then 2 kind of shiny hallways, and then the game is over. The snag swap challenge took us about 30 hours. It's because we're using garbage, okay? If you actually follow this in-game tier list and use good Pokemon, the game is over in about 4-5 hours. It is just a content void. If you're wondering if you should play this game, my answer to you is no. It's just a miserable experience overall. The story is non-existent, and something I didn't pick up on when I was a kid, because I didn't know any Japanese back then, is that the translation is ass. It is super clunky, and you can see the Japanese. Like, Rui, the girl, she can see Shadow Pokemon, I can see the Japanese. The game was good in 2004, I disagree. This was actually the very first Pokemon game that young me was disappointed by. Because I was a huge Pokemon fan. And even I was like, man, something went wrong here. Enemy teams are a complete disaster. I think at some point during the run-through, I unironically said that we have to take Hoppip down first because it's the more threatening enemy. That's the level of team building you're dealing with on the enemy side. And I guess as is thematic with there being a bunch of garbage Johto Pokemon, the level curve is nonsensical. I think in the final 6 battles of the game, there's a 20 level swing. So I think the expectation is that you go and grind in the Colosseums. Maybe that's why they called it Pokemon Colosseum. Now that's not to say that the game is all bad. In fact, I think there are 3 aspects of the game that actually hold up really well. So the first is the concept, which is why I imagine most people remember the game fondly. The concept is really cool. You're a renegade, evil team member, and you steal other people's Pokemon. Really neat idea. And maybe we'll see that applied to a good game at some point. Another aspect that's really great is the music. This game has sick beats, and I think because it's supposed to be kind of a battle simulator, there's actually really good variety in the music. So in most mainline games, you have, the regular theme, then you have the boss battle theme, and that's kind of it. But there's like 7 or 8 or 9 different battle themes that you hear even when you're battling like normal opponents. It's actually really cool. That aspect is great. And what I would probably say is the single best part of the game are the animations. Particularly the individual animations for each Pokemon. I think that they're actually incredible. Like, if you compare them to the modern animations, the reason why people say the modern animations are bad is because we've seen good animations. They're in this game. There's so much personality in each and every Pokemon. I would actually call it lovingly crafted. I have nothing bad to say about the individual animations. They're amazing, they're really charming, and if there is a reason to play this game, it's just to see the animations for each Pokemon. So what are the criteria for this tier list? Before we go over the tiers themselves, I'll just talk about what I generally consider to be important in an in-game tier list. So I'm only considering up until the final story battle, which is against Evis in the Realgam Colosseum. So nothing in the post-game is being considered. Generally, I just want you to smash through the game. So that means I value Pokemon that are really fast, and Pokemon that are really strong, which can hit the opponent and knock them out, preferably in one shot before they do anything. And you just do that over and over for about 3 hours until you're done with this trash fire of a game. Now, people have been saying, what about defensive Pokemon? It's finally time for defensive Pokemon to shine since they're in double battles. Well, no. Double battles just means that now you can field 2 Pokemon that are really strong and kill the opponent first. Why does there being 2 Pokemon suddenly mean that defenses are better? What, because one of the Pokemon can draw fire away from the offensive Pokemon? How about this? How about both your Pokemon attack and kill the opponent before they can do anything? Now that's a strategy. What about screens? What about screens? I don't care. I took 0 damage because the opponent's dead. Dead Pokemon deal 0 damage. Kill them. Don't waste your time with defensive Pokemon. I will concede that there is actually a use for defensive Pokemon that doesn't exist in the real game. And that is, when you're trying to catch Pokemon, you can just send out wall Pokemon to sit there and not die. And that actually is important because Catching in this game is really high stakes. So because every Shadow Pokemon is part of a trainer's roster, if you end up failing to catch them by accidentally knocking them out, it's really annoying to re-encounter them. Because oftentimes, you can't just rebattle the trainer. What'll happen is that the Shadow Pokemon shows up in like a Colosseum battle later, or even in the post-game. It's really obnoxious, so you have to catch them, or else you pretty much have to reset. And you can't actually save anywhere. You have to actually save at a PC, so you can lose a lot of progress just by failing to catch a Pokemon. So in that sense, you might want to be very conservative with how much you weaken them, especially because remember, every Shadow Pokemon has a recoil move. So you might actually only lower their health to like a third, and then like status them, and then toss out walls and try to defend. That is the only use for defensive Pokemon. If you're in a vanilla battle with no Shadow Pokemon, walls are useless. Just kill them. One thing you can do to make catching a bit easier is cheat. So there's a glitch that allows you to essentially get infinite Pokeballs. This does apply to the Master Ball, but you get the Master Ball when there's only about 5 or 6 Pokemon left to catch anyway, so I don't think it really matters. But it is something you can do, and you're already stealing Pokemon, so you may as well go full evil, right? And just cheat while you're at it. Now, one thing that you can potentially do if you're useless at attacking is you can use a move called Helping Hand. So normally that's useless because most battles are single battles in the franchise, but in this game everything's a double battle. So what Helping Hand does is it has increased priority. It'll almost always go first. And it'll boost the damage that your partner does by 50%. So if your name is Plusle, you can Helping Hand to be better than you would be otherwise. Wow. Also, given this anemic roster, I think you're intended to actually transfer Pokemon over, but we're not going to be considering anything from outside the game. So no Pokemon from other versions, and nothing from the bonus disc, which I think gave you Jirachi. No wishes come true when you're looking at these Pokemon. So what are the actual tiers? You might have noticed that there's no tier that even says good. Let's be clear. The moment you decided to play Colosseum, you entered into a contract, okay, where you sacrificed any potential future happiness. Nothing is good in this game, okay? Even the 2 best Pokemon in the game, I'll tell you right now, it's Espeon and Quilava. Even then, you just get great value Alakazam and off-brand Charizard, okay? With Espeon compared to Alakazam, same great typing that you know and love, fewer stats per serving. And with Quilava and Typhlosion versus the Charizard line, it's actually the same great stats you know and love without the added typing. Just worse. And it only gets even worse from there, okay? That's the Colosseum experience. Raise your hand if you think that this is hands down the worst roster in the series. There is no debate. Everything in this game is at best, like, begrudgingly okay. For most Pokemon, it is far worse. So what are the actual tiers? At the very top we have S. Espeon's okay, I guess. So is Quilava. Under that we have acceptable. These are for Pokemon where you can use them without taking recoil damage. They're okay, I guess. And then immediately we're getting into bad. These are Pokemon that you only consider using because look at your other options, right? It could be even worse. And it does get worse because already these Pokemon are horrific. These are Pokemon where I would say that, I mean, you gotta be really desperate. I don't know why you're using these. Under that, we've got Johto's Finest. These are actually the worst of the worst. So even though there's 2 tiers, like, technically under them, Johto's Finest is where we actually put, I think, the worst Pokemon in the game. We're talking Ledian. I actually do not think you could curate a worse roster, because we've got all of Johto's Finest. We've got Ledian. We've got Ariados. We've got Apom. We've got Delibird. It's... God... scientifically engineered by Cypher to be as bad as possible. Under Johto's Finest, we've got Tyranitardi, so these are for Pokemon that are... I think they would actually be good if they were in the game. So for these are Pokemon, I don't feel comfortable calling them like straight up bad, because they actually are kind of good. They're just not in the game. And my cutoff point for Pokemon going in Tyranitardi is going to be Real Gam Tower. So that means that the last Pokemon that are like eligible to be ranked are going to be the Shadow Lab Pokemon ending with Raikou. Past that, if you're good, you go in Tyranitardy, but otherwise you're probably going to be in Johto's finest, because availability does count. I do consider that a lot, so you're going to be better the more of the game you're actually in. And then we have post-game. I guess you could call this a game. And we'll actually do that right now, because I want you to know that even if you beat the game, it doesn't get better, okay? There's no hope for you. What are the post-game Pokemon? Smeargle. Oh, Starving Artist. Togetic. Wow. Not a fairy type. Doesn't even have the option to evolve up into Togetic. Ursaring. Actually would be kind of okay if it was at the start of the game, but it's not. Shuckle. What do you want me to say? It's Shuckle. Barely double-digit offenses. Completely worthless. Scizor. You might be thinking, hey, well, Scissor's good, right? Yeah, it is. In Gen 4 and beyond, this is Gen 3. No Technician. I hope you like Silverwind and Metal Claw. And also, Scissor's not even in the base game. You need an e-reader card to actually get it. So it's pay to lose. Wow. Ho-Oh is actually really good, but in order to get Ho-Oh, it's like the last thing you do in the game, because you have to capture and purify every single Pokemon and clear Mount Battle, so it's super post-game, but yeah, it's actually good. We'll mention fun trivia, I guess, that you do snag a Smeargle from President of the United States, Biden.
Come on, man.
The grunt's name is Biden. In real time, it's been an hour and a half, so let's ranking together with us. Starting with one of your 2 starter Pokemon, Espeon. I already told you where I'm gonna put this, so no surprise here, but Espeon goes in S. It is the best Pokemon in the game, and it is not even close. It's really fast, and it's really strong, and it's with you for the entire game. Sounds good to me. Good for this game, at least. So it's level 25, and it's not a Shadow Pokemon, so it's able to gain full experience immediately and level up with you as you defeat Pokemon. Its starting moves are very whatever. It's got Return, but horrible physical attacks. You would never do that. It's got Reflect. Maybe you would do that, but why are you using a defensive move? And it's got Confusion. Stab. Okay. Espeon basically only has Psychic attacks, and you might be wondering, what about Dark types? What do you do if you run into a threatening Dark type? Okay, well, a couple points about that. First, it's a double battle, right? Every single battle in the game is a double battle. You have a partner, have your partner kill them. Or, more likely, you don't want to kill them at all because you want to capture them. So, there are about 3 vaguely threatening Dark types in the entire game. There's Absol here. You probably don't want to knock them out because you probably want to catch them. Espeon being unable to hurt them doesn't matter. Houndoom, you want to catch it, right? So you don't want to knock it out. So Espeon being unable to hurt it doesn't really matter. And there's Tyranitar, which is the last Pokemon in the game and probably your Master Ball target. So again, Espeon being unable to hurt them doesn't even matter. You might notice that Murkrow and Sneasel are also Dark types. Who cares? They're awful. You're never in danger. And on top of all of that, don't fall for the super effective swindle, right? Just because you get hit super effectively doesn't mean anything. Especially because Dark is a special type in this game, and your special defense is actually like, okay, so you don't really have to worry about dying there. What about Steel types? I guess they resist your psychic moves. Kill them with your partner. What about Bug types? Squish them. Bug types suck. It's Gen 3. My particular Espeon in the snag swap run actually had an adamant nature. So adamant is plus attack minus special attack. So almost the worst possible nature you could have. And it was missing out on one-hit KOs just by like a sliver of health because of the minus special attack. So natures are actually kind of important. Never forget the marginal differences. Umbreon. Umbreon fans rejoice, because you're never going to see Umbreon as high as this again. It's probably going to be the very bottom Pokemon in acceptable. Umbreon is still pretty bad, but have you seen the other Pokemon in this game? It's a wall Pokemon. Wall Pokemon are pretty useless, but hey, you can throw him out when you're trying to catch, and he probably won't die. Probably the biggest point in Umbreon's favor is that it's not a Shadow Pokemon, even though it is a Dark type, so that means you can accumulate experience right away and scale up without having to go through all the purification nonsense. I really wish it could use Helping Hand. If it could use Helping Hand, I'd be a lot more enthusiastic about putting it in acceptable, but Umbreon in this game in particular, the one you get, doesn't have Helping Hand, so that sucks. The strongest move you get on this thing is Bite. 60 base power, and you have 65 base special attack. Pretty disappointing. Something I should have mentioned earlier is that experience is really tight in this game. There isn't a lot of it, so you're probably going to have to do a couple repeated battles. Normally in the in-game tier list, I just consider you mostly just gunning through the game and doing like 1 or 2 side objectives. For this game in particular, I'm probably going to assume that you're clearing each of the Colosseums 4 times, which is what you need to actually get all the TMs from them, and probably doing Mount Battle up to like 60 or so. So there's a little bit of grinding that I'm accounting for. I mention that now because you probably shouldn't be putting any XP into Umbreon. It's really not worth it. But if you decide to go with that, it's not the worst thing in the world, unlike some other stuff we're going to see later. Somebody left the comment, I won't call you out by name, but you know who you are, that Umbreon should get credit for Taunt utility. I'll use that as an opportunity to say that Taunt is possibly the single worst use of your turn that you could possibly do. So not only does Taunt waste your turn, it prevents your opponent from wasting their own turn, because now they have to attack you instead of doing nonsense with status moves or stat boosts that do nothing. So if I were to actually give Umbreon Taunt utility, it would be negative utility. Horrible. Why are you taunting in an in-game playthrough? Taunt's really good and competitive though, but that's not what we're talking about. Is it in Colosseum though? You get confused and attracted a lot. How about you don't actually get attacked ever because the opponent's dead because you're not using Umbreon? How about that? Makuhita. I think this is actually the very first Shadow Pokemon that you snag. So Makuhita has got a big attack stat. Sounds good to me. Probably going to be one of the top Pokemon in Acceptable. So with Shadow Pokemon, we should probably look at what moves they start with, and because TMs are so limited in this game, you don't really have a chance to change them up. Big thing about Makuhita is that it gets a good move. Well, one good move. It's Foresight completely useless, Focus Energy completely useless, Vital Throw very underwhelming, but what we're looking at here is Cross Chop! I think it's actually the strongest fighting move in the game by base power, at least, aside from a low HP reversal. 100 base power stab move off of very good base attack. I think it's either 120 or 130 on Hariyama. Unfortunately, Cross Chop does have 80% accuracy, so 20% of the time you're going to be really sad. But hey, 80% of the time, you actually hit and you probably killed the opponent. Unfortunately, Hariyama is really slow, so your opponents might actually be sneaking some hits on you. But you could do far worse than the Makuhita line. Also, both of Makuhita's abilities are really good. It can either get Thick Fat, which reduces damage from fire and ice. Maybe that's not that good, because why are you even getting hit? But you can also get Guts, which gives you an attack boost if you get status. Sure, that might come up. Most Pokemon have no ability, so having an ability that actually does something is definitely a positive. I think Espeon and Umbreon both have Synchronize, which just statuses the opponent with whatever status they inflict you with. Horrible. They don't have abilities. Time to kick off the Johto starter trio with Bayleef. So the Johto starters are the worst in Pokemon history, and Bayleef is the worst out of the 3. You might remember Bayleef from its starring role in Gen 2 starters, where I gave it a 1 out of 10. Is it any better here? Nope, it's even worse. So normally, the move Counter has negative priority, right? It goes after your opponent. I'm gonna use Counter first, okay? I see it. You might be saying, Bayleef is the best choice because you can get Entei and Suicune, who can replace the role of Quilava and Feraligatr. Well, first of all, Quilava is better than Entei. Suicune is actually better than Feraligatr. But Bayleef being the best choice for grass doesn't mean anything, because grass is ass, okay? It doesn't matter that it's the best grass type, because you don't need a grass type. It's the same energy as people trying to stuff generals into their army in Fire Emblem. Who cares about unit diversity? You don't need diversity, you need good units. Hold it! Hey, voice-only imported cheese here again. Looking through this entire sequence again during the premium editing process, I think this whole segment came across as a bit petty and mean-spirited, even for me. so consider this a formal apology to those involved and a redaction of some of the points I made. I think it's going a bit far to equate grass types with General Amelia. General Amelia actually does damage. Bayleef is not good. Such a fall from grace for Razor Leaf, where it was one of the best moves in the game in Gen 1 because it automatically crit. Here, if you try to use Razor Leaf, not only is it a grass move, it's a spread move. So it's 55 base power, cut in half. Horrible. You would do more damage actually just tossing real Bayleefs at them. Some people don't like the flavor, including me. That would do more damage than Razor Leaf in this game. Absolutely pathetic. Now, what if you intend to replace Quilava or Feraligatr with the respective legendary dog? You should still pick them, because the legendary dogs aren't in half the game, and also, this is very important, each of these three come with the held item that boosts their stab type. Bayleef comes with the Miracle Seed, Quilava comes with the Charcoal, and Croconaw comes with the Mystic Water. So that means that by picking Bayleef, you are actively making the later legendary dogs worse, because you're stuck with a useless Miracle Seed. You're gonna need a miracle to make this thing worth using. Ugh! Bad. No, we'll actually put it in acceptable, because it's got Body Slam. Like, you're gonna see what Pokemon going bad. Maybe Bayleef doesn't belong there. Actually, it does. Yeah, it's bad. Whatever. It's bad. B for bad, B for Bayleef. The most damage you can do with Meganium is Sunny Beam. And it is easier to set that up since you have two Pokemon on the field, so one of them can do Sunny Day, which then buffs your entire team for 5 turns, but it's not worth it. Grass is a great coverage type, but a painful stab type. Ban this guy too. What do you mean a great coverage type? It's a horrible coverage type. As expected, grass propaganda in full bloom. People just can't accept that one of the starter types is objectively horrible. Now, one thing that people will probably try to defend Bayleef for is it gets synthesis. It can heal itself. So, as always regarding defensive/utility things, why are you taking damage? Who cares about moves that don't kill the opponent? But also, you know what's better than synthesis? Lemonade. If you want to stay on the grass theme, Energy Root, you can buy those for healing items. Healing items are just way better because they don't care about your base speed. They'll always go first. They can heal your entire health pool instead of just half of it, although it's 2/3 in Sun, wow. Pokemon that have healing moves on their learn sets, which is actually going to be a couple others throughout the run, so I'll mention it now, useless. You'd rather just have a move that does damage. Outclassed by Commerce. Quilava. The Charizard at home. This is the only other Pokemon that's actually going to go in the S tier. It's a fast and strong special attacker. Strong, relative for this game. It's only a monotype, which is unfortunate, but then again, it's not as if Charizard had stab in Gen 3 anyway. It'll probably go first, and probably knock the opponent out with a decently strong fire move. By this game's standards, that is absolutely S tier, and it is one of the very first Pokemon you encounter as well. I think it gets Dig as one of its shadow moves. That's not very exciting, but ground coverage is very useful and also very rare, so it's not nothing. I think that actually is a point in its favor. It doesn't get Flamethrower in its base kit, which is a little unfortunate. It starts with Flame Wheel, but it does learn Flamethrower through level up, and once you get to the Under, which is a little over halfway through the game, you can actually buy Fire Blast if you feel so inclined. And you can also Sunny Beam with it if that's what you want to do. It has Sunny Day in its learn set. Like when you purify Shadow Rush, you get Sunny Day. A lot of Pokemon actually get Sunny Day. It's kind of shocking. Like, look at this. Look how sunny it is. It's always sunny in Ore. It's a desert. Let me be really explicit. YouTube, don't ban me. But I do think the Quilava line is better than Entei. It's faster and it has higher special attack. Entei's bulkier. Who cares? Why are you getting hit? And again, even if you want to use Entei instead, you should still pick Quilava because Quilava has the Charcoal, which you can then give to Entei. Croconaw! Water's a pretty good type! Croconaw, unlike Cyndaquil, I think is actually pretty much strictly outclassed by the legendary dog. I think Suicune is actually better than Feraligatr, but hey, you have Croconaw for way more of the game. So Croconaw is still fairly useful, and again, even if you fully intend to replace it with Suicune, you should still pick Croconaw because you get the Mystic Water. Croconaw, I think it's definitely worse than Quilava, so I don't think it's going to go in the S tier, but we'll put it in acceptable. It's very solid. It gets Surf as one of its starting moves, but again, keep in mind, even though you might think like, oh, Gen 3 Surf, it doesn't even hit your ally, only hits opponents. Remember that spread moves are only half power. So it is not nearly as exciting as you think. I don't really have that much bad to say about Croconaw for Alligator. It's fine. Available early. Acceptable offense. Good type. More pros than cons. I guess we'll mention that Croconaw has the best attack out of the 3 starters. I mean physical attack. Which does actually matter because before you Purify, which does take a long time, it's about, I would say about half the game before you can Purify. Maybe closer to a third of the game before you can Purify. You're going to be forced to use Shadow Rush sometimes. And Shadow Rush is a physical move. So having good physical attack is actually kind of relevant. Slugma. One of the very few Gen 3 Pokemon in this game. I mean, Slugma Male Gaming, Slugma Nuts. Any other Slugma memes we should get out of the way right now? Yeah, so Slugma, notoriously awful. One of the very few Pokemon that gains a dual type and actually gets worse. Rock Fire is absolutely horrific. It's right down there with Rock Steel in terms of, like, the Hall of Lame of dual typing. Is it one of Johto's finest? Get ready, guys. Slugma males stay winning. No, it's just horrific. Why? It is available very early, and probably more importantly than that, it's actually got an okay special attack stat, and it actually starts with Flamethrower. So, make no mistake, if this was available any later, and if it didn't have Flamethrower in its starting moveset, it would be in Johto's finest for sure. But it's saved by circumstance. It's just horrific. Igglybuff, okay. I guess we don't really have to worry about his other Pokemon, because they're terrible. Oh, he does have Flamethrower. Oh no. Oh, that looks really good. Oh, the carnage. Oh, no. That's actually really bad. I guess we hope that he doesn't flamethrower us here. Uh-oh. Do we lose our turn? Yeah, we lose our turn. Oh my god, we lost to Slugma. Oh, Slugma Male Gaming. And we got burned. Are you kidding me? Destroyed. I mean, what do you expect from Double Grass Gaming? We lost to a Slugma and an Igglybuff. Amazing. I would seriously argue that Slugma is better than Bayleef. Let's not go too far, my friend. You know that I like fire and I don't like grass, and not even I would say that Slugma is better than Bayleef. Oh yeah, it has Yawn, which can be useful for catching, I guess. But there's better ways to status than Yawn on Slugma. Noctowl. One of the worst regional birds. Might actually be the worst regional starter bird. So of course it's in this game. It's bad. Worthless on offense, but I think it does get Hypnosis, which can be useful to help catch things. Has Fly, but this bad attack. That's a pretty fun comment. Noctowl has Hypnosis, which just like Yawn, puts the opponent to sleep in 2 turns. I think on average, it's slightly better than 2 turns, right? Because it's 60% accuracy. So we can see it's got Hypnosis, Reflect, Fly, Steel Wing. Who cares? It does like 10 damage. But other Pokemon in the game do like 5 damage, so could be worse. And it does have pretty good special bulk, but you know who else does? Umbreon. So you should just use Umbreon. Since this is the first Pokemon with Fly, I guess we'll mention that Fly is very weird in this game. Not in terms of mechanics, just in terms of animation. So there are flying animations that look pretty good, like the Pokemon flap their wings. But the issue is that something went wrong in between attacking with Fly and actually using it, because they revert to their standing animation like in midair, and then they resume flying. It's very weird. Flaaffy. Very difficult to spell. It's got 2 A's and 2 F's. So I think that the Ampharos line, I'm going to say right now, I like the Ampharos line personally. I think they're really cute. I think the Ampharos line is always really, really overrated. It's super slow, but it's not overrated in Gen 2 in particular, because in Gen 2, you can enter it into the elemental punch-out circuit, and it also is in a game with the stat XP system, which means that its low speed is not as much of a problem. We're not in Gen 2. despite the disaster you see on screen. So that means that it does actually suffer from low speed because it doesn't get static speed to patch it up. And it also cannot elemental punch in this game. You basically only get electric moves. Despite all of the Flaaffy slander, I think it's pretty good. It's definitely better than Umbreon. All you get is a fairly strong and slow Thunderbolt, but that's not that bad at all. It is a very strong Thunderbolt. And also it has Thunder Wave in its starting move pool, which is very good. This is the most reliable status in the entire game. 100% paralysis if they're not a ground type. Remember that electric types aren't immune to paralysis yet. So you can you can paralyze, I think, every single Pokemon you have to actually catch, except for Piloswine, and there's one other ground type, Vibrava. Very useful. So if you need to kill them, you can hit them with a Thunderbolt. And if you need to catch them, you can Thunder Wave them. Lots of uses for Flaaffy. I think Raikou is way better once you actually get it, but hey, you get Flaaffy way earlier. Flaaffy does benefit a lot from purification because it is stuck with Thunder Shock until you purify it. Thunder Shock's pretty disappointing, you know, only 40 base power, but once you purify, you do get Thunderbolt, which is really strong. Thunder Shock, given the garbage you fight, is actually almost good enough for the battles you have to do before purification. That should tell you how bad the enemy teams are. Skiploom. I imagine out of every placement in this list, this is the one that's gonna shock people the most. It's either this or Plusle, so there's a preview for you. I'm gonna put it at the very bottom of acceptable. To be clear, this thing is completely useless at actually hurting things. It does, I think I mentioned that Noctowl did 10 damage. This thing does like 3 damage. It does absolutely 0 damage. What in the world are we doing here? This is the fastest and most reliable sleeper in the game. Skiploom and eventually Jumpluff. It's got very good base speed. It's almost certainly going first. And it has the most accurate sleep move in the game, which is Sleep Powder at 75%. Catching Pokemon is really annoying in this game because if you fail, you have to like rematch them in the Colosseum or even like go in the postgame. So you really don't want to fail. Thunder Wave is the easy option for reliable status, but because every Pokemon can hurt themselves with Shadow Rush, putting them to sleep is actually the safer option a lot of the time. Yeah, I mean, people are like having a good laugh in the comment. You should yuck it up. This is very funny. That Skiploom gets to be this high. You would never see this in any other game. In most games, this thing is completely useless. But specifically because of the context of this game, for having the best catch utility possible, you get to be an acceptable. So I think in the Hard Gold and Soul Silver tier list, there's about 45 minutes of Hoppip propaganda. It was like a huge argument. I guess it was just a delayed effect. So the Hoppip lobby finally succeeding at getting the Hoppip line a decent placement. It just had to be compared to these guys. If I was really in the pocket of the Hoppip lobby, I'd probably say something about how the fact that it does 3 damage is good because that allows you to more safely chip away at enemy Pokemon HP after you sleep them and try to weaken them gradually. But I mean, I'm not gonna go that far. I'm not gonna say that doing less damage is an upside. No, it's not. After this, don't you dare say that I'm biased against grass types, okay? Last thing we'll say about Jumpluff doesn't actually... I think I've called it every single member of its evolution line. Last thing we'll say, I said Jumpluff because Jumpluff in particular has a glitched shadow in this game. So it's a shadow Pokemon, and also its shadow, like its physical shadow, is for some reason cubical, I guess because it's on the GameCube, even though Jumpluff's puffs are spherical. I have no idea how that happened. Wow, people have a lot to say about Quagsire. This happens every single time we have to talk about Quagsire because people really like Quagsire. I agree, it's like super cute and derpy, and of course its typing is amazing. Like Water Ground is maybe like a top 3 dual typing in the game. It's insane, right? You're invincible, and both types are really, really good on offense. Quagsire's stats are hopeless. They're so bad. Like every time, I have to remind you about how bad they are. It's So we're gonna look right now. The sensitive among you might want to avert your eyes. Look at this. 35 base speed. 85 attack. 65 special attack. Horrific all around. Completely carried by its typing. Right, so even though you get Stab Surf, which sounds really good just when you hear it, that's Stab Surf off of 65 special attack, that's doing 50% damage. No, that's horrible. It does get Earthquake through level up, which off of 85 base attack with stab and full power in this game. That's almost good, but yeah. Considering all of the other garbage stats, I'm like very begrudgingly putting this in acceptable. I am putting it below Skiploom. I personally think it should be like top of bad, but people like Quagsire so much, and I can see a world, this world in particular, where yeah, I would look at Quagsire's stats and say like, yeah, it's acceptable. Misdrevous. So if you've seen one of my tier lists before, you know what's about to happen. Mismagius is pretty good. Very respectable special stats, decent speed, good ability in the form of levitate. You can find a lot of things to love about Mismagius, and oh, this thing doesn't evolve? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! God. We can't do it for every single Johto Pokemon on the list, because there's a lot, but yeah, this is the very first victim of Johto. No Gen 4 evolution means this thing is perpetually in the trash can with no hope of escape. I say that, but is it actually in the trash can? It floats. Might actually have escaped the trash, so for this game at least, for a very specific reason, I'm actually gonna put this at the top of bad. So you might notice, this is the only ghost type in the game. And did you know that the developers of Pokemon Colosseum knew nothing about Pokemon? Given how good the game is, you would have never guessed. So there's something wrong with the AI. And the AI just has no idea how to deal with ghost types. So they will very regularly waste their moves trying to hit Misdrevous with moves that don't affect it. I think that really only applies to this game, but because of that, just the fact that it is a ghost gives it a lot of extra utility. Beyond how good Ghost normally is, it's extra good because the enemies are completely brain dead. Dead, Ghost, it's all connected. So Misdrevous's actual stats are just horrible. They're really bad, they never scale up, and it's very much hurt by the fact that Ghost, the least physical type of all time, is a physical type. So even though it has Shadow Ball in its opening moveset, it's using Shadow Ball off of its horrendous attack. For the initial stretch of the game, it's kind of okay. But then enemies start to scale up, and Misdrevous never does. I don't think you really need to mourn for Misdrevous. It's on the cusp of being acceptable. You could put it in acceptable, and I wouldn't say that you were making a mistake. But I personally think that given how limited experience is in this game, you really shouldn't be using Misdrevous. It's not really worth it because anything you put into it is just kind of wasted. There's Pokemon that scale up far better. Obviously, if Mismagius was in this game, I would probably consider putting this in like S. Mismagius is pretty good. Mismagius is not in this game though. Otachi. Fan favorite Pokemon Furret. Really cute. Was saved in HGSS by my coworker and the Otachi gang. Yeah, not in this game. I don't think we can say it's acceptable. I think it's actually better than Misdrevous because it gets, oh my god, there's no other game you're ever gonna hear that one of the points in its favor is stab strength. But yeah, it gets strength as its normal stab, which at the point in the game you get it, it does okay. It makes enemy HP bars go down more than some other things you could be doing. Zero utility, zero scalability. It's always going to be a Furret with Furret stats. So it's better than horrific. Is it acceptable? I wouldn't go that far. It's like a Pokemon that falls off, but it didn't even start good. Oh yeah, good point. It gets Runaway in this game. Runaway as a Pokemon ability. Now normally, it's next to useless, because it at least lets you escape from wild Pokemon, but you might notice there's no wild Pokemon in this game, so Furret literally has no ability. Runaway in this game is just a warning to the player. It's telling the player, you should run away from this game. Horrible. I was mistaken. Abilities are randomized. It might not have Runaway. It might have Kenai. So Furret does get both Follow Me and Helping Hand. Follow Me is worthless. It makes enemies attack Furret instead of your other Pokemon. Why are the other Pokemon getting actions? Why aren't they dead? And Helping Hand is okay. You can use it to assist your other attacking Pokemon, but you would rather have Furret be a Pokemon that actually could attack on its own. Yanmega. Fantastic stats and a great ability. What? It's not in this game? Oh my god, this thing's horrible. Where do you think Yanma goes? Take a wild guess. This thing is the mascot of Johto's finest. Holy moly, Yanma. So this is the first Pokemon that we're going to talk about that I actually think you should not purify. Like, don't even consider it. Get ready for this. Did you know this was a horror game? Look at Yanma's moves after purification. Detect, Supersonic, Sonic Boom, so double Sonic. And we know that Sonic's a great franchise, right? And then Uproar. You should be in an uproar if you're forced to use this thing. Completely hopeless. Shadow Rush is the best thing it ever gets, and once you purify it, it's gone. Johto's finest, no question. Oh, and of course its stats are horrible, but you knew that already. Yeah, I can't show the stats. This video is gonna get age restricted. Look it up on your own. I'm not gonna be responsible for showing you Yanma's stats. But Speed Boost is really good. So hey! You're really fast! And you'll probably go first. And then what? Horrible stats. Horrible typing. Horrible moves. It's the Yanma experience. Johto's finest. Remoraid. Are you ready? I think Remoraid is the worst Pokemon in the game. And I think it's the worst because of a mistake? So something you might not realize, most Pokemon, your starter Pokemon by the way, are level 25. Almost all of these Shadow Pokemon, in fact I think all of them, are level 30? For some reason, Remoraid is level 20. I think it was a mistake. I think it was supposed to be level 30, but did you know that the developers knew nothing about Pokemon? Something went awry, and this thing ended up 10 levels below everything else. You can't purify for quite a while more. It's horrible! Like, a level 20 Remoraid is absolutely unusable, and by the way, if this thing was a level 30 Octillery instead, it would probably just be horrific. It is just unusable. You send it out, it dies. If it gets to attack, the enemy doesn't die. There's no aid that could help this Remoraid. It is beyond redemption. I think it is actually the worst Pokemon in the game. And people have been saying, like, what about the level 13 Plusle? I think the Plusle's better. I'll explain why when we get to Plusle. Worse than Delibird? Absolutely worse than Delibird, yeah. Can you believe your ears? Yes. I said emphatically and with my full heart, the heart gauge is completely clear, that yes, this is worse than Delibird. Is it worse than Ledian? Is it worse than Sunflora? Yeah. For me to say that this is the worst Pokemon in the game, it's worse than Delibird, it's worse than Sunflora, it is worse than Ariados, all Pokemon that come significantly later, by the way. Let that strike fear into your heart. Close the door to your heart right now so you don't have to deal with how awful Remoraid actually is. Completely beyond redemption. Yeah, somebody posted Remoraid's base stats. I won't show them to you. I'll just show you, I'll tell you the numbers. It'll be like I'm reading an evil spell to you.
35, 65, 35, 65, 35, 65.
I just killed half the viewers. I'm sorry. I'll take responsibility for my crimes. I didn't have to do that to you, but I did. So you could know my pain. It does have a really good move pool though. It learns a lot of really powerful TMs, but you also have to grind for the TMs. And it doesn't have Surf, so its only stab move is going to be Octazooka. This is all theoretical though, right? Because you died way before you even tried to level this thing up. Not Remoraid died, you died, because you tried to use this thing. Awful. As if Remoraid weren't bad enough, You can use Remoraid by using Mantine, who's way better. It's not good. C tier to the max, SEA C tier, which is not in this game, but it's better than Noctowl. It's a water flying type. Good typing. I think it's Bubble Beam. It's alright, because it is targeted, right? So it doesn't suffer from the spread penalty, even though its base power is bad, so it's kind of as if it was Spread Surf. It's okay. Mantine's base stats are actually kind of okay. They're actually the exact same as Skarmory, but the physical and special stats are inverted. And Skarmory's got good stats. Look how happy he is in this Shuffle sprite. He's smiling. Mantine in modern games actually has better stats than Skarmory. It's true, they buffed it. You're right. One unfortunate thing about Mantine is that its base attack is real crap. It's 40. So when you have to Shadow Rush with it, because that's all you have unlocked initially, that's going to do like almost nothing. And eventually, once you do get your Flying Stab with Wing Attack, I mean, good luck with 40 base attack. You're basically a mono water type that doesn't get Earthquaked. Colosseum's roster is better than Gold and Silver purely because the Johto Pokemon are actually in the game. Of course, it's worse for the same reason. Qwilfish. It's a water type. Could be worse. Who weeps for Qwilfish? They say that every Pokemon is somebody's favorite. People who say they like Qwilfish are lying. Who cares? There's like 36 water types I would rather use before Qwilfish. But they're not options in this game. So you get this guy. Overquill's cool. Oh, so I guess actually, he's actually eligible as of Gen 8. So congratulations, Qwilfish. Thanks to Legends Arceus, we actually get to say, hey, Overquill's pretty good. Whoa, this thing doesn't evolve. Oh my god, this thing's horrible. Ah! It has okay attack, so you can Shadow Rush things. But it's a Qwilfish. It's never gonna get better than how it starts. And it doesn't start that great at all. A moveset of champions. Who wouldn't betray their favorite Pokemon and become a Qwilfish lobbyist when you could use Pin Missile, Minimize, Poison Sting with Stab, and Surf? Get a puff of this. Qwilfish. Halved Surf off of 55 base special attack. Convincing argument. Leave your Qwilfish support comments below. Medicham. The yoga training paid off. This thing's pretty good. Yeah, I think right next to Flaaffy is a good place for it. So it's a psychic fighting type. The psychic type is completely useless because there's no physical psychic moves yet, but you get pure power high jump kick. Hits hard. I think I would rather risk the high jump kick miss than the cross chop miss, because you have 10% more chance to hit with your kick. Its purified moves aren't that bad. It gets Detect, I believe? Yup. Which is functionally the same as Protect. You can actually buy Protect TM, so this isn't that much of an upside, but hey, you save 3,000 money and you can buy more lemonade, I guess. Calm Mind does nothing, Confusion does nothing. It's a high jump kick bot, but hey, high jump kick with Stab Pure Power, it does a lot. Oh, high jump kick hasn't been buffed yet. If this was modern 130 base power high jump kick, S for sure. But no, this is 90 base power. So it hits hard, but it doesn't hit so hard that you can like cheese stuff by just annihilating it with how hard you hit. Oh, it's 85. Oh, worse than Umbreon? No. Dunsparce, actually the main character of the game. So something I never explained and you might have been really confused by is this Dunsparce Ouroboros in the corner. So this is the main character of the entire challenge run we did. So Dunsparce, I will say, I was pleasantly surprised by Dunsparce when we were forced to use it. I expected nothing, and I got slightly more than nothing. Johto's finest for sure. I mean, let's be real. It's horrible. It's a Dunsparce. But it's like reasonably bulky. It like doesn't die in one hit, which is important because it's super slow, so it's never going first. And you can hit things with Takedown, which gets Stab. Are you excited to use Stab Takedown? No. There's a reason why I made Dunsparce one of the mocking emotes. It's terrible, but it gets Glare. That's something. You can paralyze things. Why aren't you using Flaaffy with Thunder Wave? I don't know. You could Glare one of the 2 ground types you have to catch, which is something that Flaaffy can't do. I cannot imagine what you could say to convince me not to put this in Johto's Finest. It's got Serene Grace. It might have Serene Grace, but in our playthrough, it actually had Runaway. Runaway for the authentic Tsuchinoko content. When it comes to Dunsparce, Tsuchinoko real. Real bad, unfortunately. Swablu. Slugma's looking kinda lonely, right? I think Swablu, it's not Johto's Finest, because one, it's a Hoenmon, but I think it is actually better than the Pokemon in Johto's Finest. Terrific, though. Swablu is pathetic. It does... How much... Noctowl did 10 damage. Skiploom did, what, 3? I think Swablu does 5. Swablu itself is garbage, but Altaria is kind of okay. I mean, it's a dragon type, so it resists a bunch of stuff. Why do you care about resisting things? Why isn't the enemy dead in one hit? Maybe because you're using Altaria. Very, very lackluster offenses. It gets Sing. Worst sleep move in the game. But at least it's a sleep move. For now, it seems Horrific is just Hoenn's Finest. Yeah, especially because Slugma's a Hoenmon, right? 255 catch rate? It's a free catch? I mean, I could pick up garbage off the street with 100% catch rate. It's not good just because it's easy to get. Swablu comes with Fly. Have you seen how much damage it does with Fly? I've seen it. I wish I could unsee it. Sudowoodo. Very solid physical stats. And okay moves. It gets Stab, Rock Slide. Unfortunately, there is the spread move penalty. And you're never getting the flinch chance because you have like 10 speed. It's not actually 10 speed, but it's really bad. You got Low Kick, which is okay. Bottom of bad? I wouldn't say it's horrific. You can deal damage to it, but after you get hit, and potentially die because you're a rock type and you take double damage from everything. So you snag Sudowoodo from Mirror B's team? I guess he's disguised as a grass type with his Ludicolo's? And in his animation, he's vibin'. So I guess that's why he fits on Mirror B's team. I'm a Sudowoodo fan. Plusle. A lot of unique things about Plusle, so aside from your starter evolutions, it's actually the only Pokemon that you obtain, I guess that's also not Ho-Oh, that's not a Shadow Pokemon. So it is purified right from the get-go, because it was never actually made into a Shadow Pokemon. It's level 13. Knowing that, you might expect me to put it in Johto's Finest. I would do that. But I read a Reddit post yesterday that just inspired me. It's just horrific. So it actually is a traded Pokemon. So that means that it gains XP at 1.5 times the rate. Given that it starts at level 13, that's almost barely a positive Plusle moment, but it does have Helping Hand. That allows it to kind of contribute even as it's trying to catch up in experience. And really, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but this game is so bad that Plusle's stats, offensive stats, speed and special attack being just sub 100 is like okay for this game. I still think it's absolutely atrocious, but I wouldn't say that it's beyond salvation. You can, in fact, look on the plus side and make something out of this thing. Truly a Colosseum moment. Why is there no Minun? I don't know. It is really weird that in a game all about double battles, they have Pokemon that were introduced to teach the player about double battles, right? Plus and minus synergy, and they only added Plusle. And Plusle is better than Minun would be, for whatever that's worth. Somebody in the chat said, apparently there's unused text indicating there was supposed to be a Shadow Minun. Oh. Did you know that the developers of this game knew nothing about Pokemon? If this was actually like level 30, like on par with everything else, I'd probably actually put it at the top of bad. Hitmontop. You'd think that a Pokemon that comes with Intimidate in a game with only double battles would be pretty good. You'd be wrong. So one thing kills Hitmontop, and that is the move pool. I think it's actually horrific. Now your response to that might be like, there's no way it's horrific, right? Are you ready? Agility, focus energy, triple kick, rapid spin. How bad is triple kick? So 90 accuracy hits 3 times. First hit is 10 base power, but it ramps up. Then it's 20. Then it's 30. And each hit can miss. So if you hit all 3, you get 60 base power total. The best thing you can do is, if you clear the Pyrite Colosseum 4 times, you can give it Brick Break. So then you get a Pokemon with very mediocre attacking stats that can use one move. Nice. I mean, the trainer name warns you. Cypherpeon Scrub. If it started with Brick Break, I would probably put it middle of bad. I mean, the biggest thing that Hitmontop does in-game is in a cutscene, you see it defeat a Pikachu. What a claim to fame. Entei, the Flame Emperor. Entei in a high placement? If that is what you wish. It is the first of the legendary dogs you acquire, quite a while before Raikou in particular, only a little bit before Suicune. But that's pretty good! I think I'm gonna put it above Flaaffy. I think Quilava is actually better, but Entei is no slouch on its own. It's very solid. I mean, it's got legendary stats on the lower side of legendaries, but it's okay. No physical fire moves yet, that's unfortunate, but it does start with Fire Blast, does big damage even with its mediocre special attack. Nothing to get excited about, not exactly lighting the world on fire. It's fine. It's more than fine. It's acceptable. Is acceptable more than fine? What physical moves does the Flame Emperor get? Shadow Rush. It really wishes it had better physical moves. It learns Stomp in its level up moveset, but it's not exactly Stomp in the game. You can apparently give it Return from Fennec City, so that'll probably be its best move. Aside from Fire Blast. Fire Blast's obviously better. And we'll go from the Flame Emperor to the Emperor of Johto's finest. Where do you think Ledian goes? Wait, what? Okay, for some reason I can't move anything. That's the power of Ledian. Okay, we've broken free out of the dark magic Ledian was using to prevent us from ranking it. Where do you think Ledian goes? Ledian is, I think, one of the first Pokemon that comes to mind when you think of hilariously bad. It's still better than Remoraid in this game, but yeah, this thing is about as close to useless as you can get. It can set screens, I guess. I'm like really straining to find things it can do, but like look at its moves. It's all gray. These are all normal moves. Baton Pass. What are you baton passing? Safeguard. Who cares? Supersonic. 55 accuracy Confuse Ray, and Confuse Ray is bad to begin with. Comet Punch. What do I even have to say about Comet Punch? You could hit all 5 times and still do less than 5 damage, even though each hit is supposed to do 1. It is like beyond comprehension how horrible this thing is. Cypherpeon Cloak. More like Cloaca. That's a smart joke. I'm really proud of that. I'm gonna snag a joke that one of the chatters said. Ledian, apparently it's the 5-star Pokemon? On like a scale of 100, yeah, probably. Yeah, Ledian can baton pass to switch to a better Pokemon. That's about it. Suicune, the Prince of Water. I think we'll just put it next to Croconaw, it should be pretty easy. I think it's better than Croconaw once you get it, but you have Croconaw for about 2/3 of the game before you actually get Suicune. If you didn't pick Croconaw, then you should definitely use Suicune. If you did pick Croconaw, you should maybe still consider using Suicune, but you could also just keep using Croconaw. They're like interchangeable, but Suicune is like marginally better, but also won't have EVs and you have to go through the whole process of purifying it, which is kind of annoying. It gets water moves and that's about it. I guess you can give it ice moves too. I think it has Aurora Beam, which is like, okay. One thing to note is that it does pair quite well with Raikou. I think pretty much the only time you would actually consider setting up, as in like using a weather move, is if you have both Raikou and Suicune, you can Rain Dance with Raikou. And now Surf hits harder, and you can also use Guaranteed Accuracy Thunder, which actually might be worth using. Because they're also both decently durable, so they can do that without dying, and then you can sweep the rest of your opponent's team. That's probably not worth doing in like normal encounters. You'd probably only do that in a boss encounter. But it is one of the only setup things in the game that's actually worth considering. Gligar. Gliscor's really good. One of the best balanced physical walls in the game, because it's very hardy and hard to kill on the physical side, but it can also hit back, so you can't just ignore it. Oh, this thing doesn't evolve? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! Ugh! Ground Flying, actually really good typing. Gives you Earthquake, right? No, you need the TM. Johto's finest for sure. It's got a solid typing. It's got a horrible stats, and look at this move pool. Feint Attack, Sand Attack, which is not really an attack, right? Doesn't do any damage. Poison Sting, 15 base power, no stab, and Slash. It's a normal move. Wow. I don't think there's anything else to say about Gligar, right? It's terrible. Really wishes it could evolve. Too bad. Does it learn anything by level up? Good question. I know the answer. I'll look it up anyway. You ready? Gen 3 Gligar. Look at this. If you invest in Gligar, you can look forward to adding such moves to your repertoire as Screech, locked to level 44, can't give it to you too early, and Guillotine. I know it's Guillotine, but I said it just to increase the amount of pain you feel. Oh, it's Guillotine, sorry, yeah. I said it wrong twice. If you wanted to be a Gligar gamer, it does have 2 immunities. So maybe because the AI is such a disaster, it might waste their turns against Gligar. But you're guaranteed to be wasting your turns because you're using Gligar, so I think you still lose in that scenario. Stantler! So the Weird Ear evolution gives Stantler a lot of stuff that it was really lacking. I still wouldn't call Weird Ear great. It's very slow for some reason. But it gains the dual typing. A dual typing is almost always good because you get an additional stab. Its signature move, Psy Shield Bash, has some nice utility. I mean, usually it's not worth it to boost, but to boost and do damage at the same time, that's worth consideration. Oh, this thing doesn't evolve? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! Put it above Swablu. It's got Intimidate, it has stats that are on the cusp of acceptable, and it's got Hypnosis, which is better than Sing, by 5%. So you can maybe use this to try and sleep some things. It's better than Hitmontop. Put it above Hitmontop. No, I won't. No. Because I would rather go through the work to give Hitmontop Brick Break than try to use Stantler. I guess you could give it Stab Return. I'd rather give Return to Entei. I'll agree, it's better than Furret, but you get it much later. And this is getting to the point of the game where it's getting tough to purify. Because you catch this guy in the Under, there's a gauntlet of catches in the Under. And then it's the Shadow Lab, and then the game's over, because you're in Real Game Tower. It's hunting season. If you see a Stantler in your area, do me a favor, get rid of it for me. Piloswine! So Mamoswine is incredible. 130 base attack is massive damage. Stab ground, stab ice, and it's not even that slow, right? 80 base speed is, especially for in-game, just about right where you need it to be. You'll go first if you have a level advantage. With all the... Oh, this thing doesn't evolve? Oh my god, this thing's horrible. It's better than Stantler. You get Stab Ground, that's something. Your Stab Ice is useless because Ice is all special. I really wish you could evolve. Mamoswine is so good. There's no Mamoswine in this game. You got this thing. The fur covers its eyes so it doesn't have to look in the mirror and see the reflection of Piloswine. Probably the best Earthquake user with 100 base attack. Vibrava's right there, bro. Flygon's definitely better. It's way faster and it has a better secondary type. Stab Blizzard off of 120 BP move? Horrible special attack, no. It also doesn't get Earthquake by level up. If it did, it's comparable to Quagsire Surf, it's fine. But Quagsire Surf is not fine. Quagsire Surf is horrible! Maybe it'd be better than Swablu. Like, look at these moves. Endure. You're gonna need endurance if you want to try using this thing. Odor Sleuth. Sniff 'em. Oh, it stinks. Dig? No thanks. Blizzard? With 60 base special attack? And the spread penalty? And the bad accuracy? No thanks. We're gonna do some Odor Sleuthing of our own. Because I am curious about one of Odor Sleuth's mechanics. If you sniff out the enemy, does that mean your partner can then hit them with normal and fighting moves? Let's learning. Odor Sleuth causes all accuracy checks against the target to ignore any changes to the target's evasion stat changes. Note that doesn't mean you hit them, right? This doesn't give you fully accurate Blizzard, it just means they can't make Blizzard less accurate by boosting their own evasion. If Odor Sleuth's target is a Ghost-type Pokemon, it also removes the target's immunity to fighting and Normal-type moves. Odor Sleuth's effect ends when the target switches out. So I think that means that, because it removes the opponent's immunity, you can Wombo Combo Odor Sleuth to then hit it with normal or fighting moves from your partner. What a support Pokemon. Sneasel! So Sneasler, despite looking like a Sonic OC, it's got some crazy stats. Super fast, super strong, exactly what you want. No matter how much you want it, it's not in the game. And I knew that, right? Because that's a Gen 8 evolution. So you're going to be stuck with Weavile. I say stuck, but I mean, Weavile is pretty amazing. Incredible speed, incredible attack, and Ice Dark is actually a very vicious stab combination. So as soon as you get to Weavile... Oh, this thing doesn't evolve? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! It's Gen 4! I think it's better than Gligar. This is one Pokemon I think you actually should never purify. Because the best move it will ever use is Shadow Rush. Think about how sad that is. Ice and Dark are both special, and Sneasel's special is pathetic. It actually has okay speed and okay attack. You want to see what moves against? Look at this. Feint Attack, 60 base power, nice, special. Screech. Ugh. I'll use it right now. I'll cut that. Fury Swipes, it's one of the worst moves in the franchise. Icy Wind. Could theoretically be useful in a competitive double battle from a Pokemon that's not Sneasel. So, useful in a scenario that is not the one we're in. Justice for Sneasel. Only one more generation. If it's any consolation, and I think it is, modern Weavile is incredible. It is, I guess, the definition of a glass cannon. It either kills you, or you kill it, and it's probably gonna kill you. How do you make ice good? Make it really fast and strong. Nice. Aipom. As far as normal types go, Ambipom is not that bad. It does have Stab Technician Fake Out, which is a surprising amount of free damage, because most opponents simply take that and lose their turn. I think considering that, like, damage boost it gets, Ambipom is going to be one option that you might actually consider. Oh, this thing doesn't evolve? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! Why? It's better than Yanma. I think it's worse than Dunsparce. Real quotes that you'll never hear elsewhere. I think it's worse than Dunsparce. Ugh. Monkey business. More like monkey out of business. Get this thing off my screen. Let's look at its moves. As far as I can remember, a bunch of normal garbage and, like, Tickle. Baton Pass. Where have we seen Baton Pass before? Oh. On Ledian, so you know we're in trouble. Tickle. Why are you lowering your opponent's stats? You should be trying to kill them. Fury Swipes. At least it's better at Fury Swiping than Sneasel. Swift. Spread move. Pathetic. I mean, you can tickle the enemy, but they're already laughing. You're using Aipom. The only merit for Aipom is that it does get pickup, which operates off the Ruby and Sapphire item table, and you don't have to fight to actually get pickup. So you can throw it in the back and it can, like, pick up garbage. Murkrow. So Honchkrow is a very, very potent mixed attacker. It's got crazy attack. So if you're a Brave Bird, the opponent's dead. And it's got, like, a surprisingly deep special move pool. It includes stuff like Heat Wave, which I guess a lot of birds get. But given Honchkrow's very respectable special attack, it can actually do a lot of damage. I think that Honchkrow is... Are? まだ進化できないって。なんてクズだ! This thing's horrible! What? It's better than Gligar. Why is this thing above Dunsparce? No, it's horrible. Made of paper. and doesn't do enough damage to justify it. Look at these moves. Feint attack. Mean look. As if the enemy was considering running away. No. Nightshade. Set damage, so it's probably the best you're ever gonna do. And fly. Takes 2 turns. No thanks. Johto's finest for sure. And not even the head honcho of Johto's finest. Sad. Also, did you know that honcho is a Japanese word? That's why we did it in Japanese. Yeah, honcho comes from honcho. It means like section boss. Forretress. Defensive Pokemon. Probably the best defensive Pokemon in the game, aside from Umbreon, I guess. Forretress has very good stats. It's pretty much invincible on the physical side, and its attack is surprisingly good at 90? So it does a lot more damage than you'd think. It's probably gonna be the best Pokemon that we're gonna see in Johto's finest. Why are you using a defensive Pokemon? Also, it completely wrecked us in the challenge run, but I mean, we're using really dumb rules anyway, so... I'm not like counting that as a point in Forretress's favor. The baton pass! The Forretress, okay. I'm less scared of that than Ariados. I think Forretress has the same attack as Ariados. Ariados might have slightly more. Probably 2 hits to kill this Ariados. I don't know what Forretress can do to us. Yeah, as long as we survive this turn and can survive Forretress's next attack, we just have to not miss this next Dragon Breath. If we miss this next Dragon Breath, it's a disaster. Okay, that's very good. Because now we just 1v1 Forretress. We don't really care. It depends what Forretress has Toxic. It has a +2 evasion boost because it got baton passed. The evasion boosts. Oh. Don't die. Do we lose? It's a crit. We lose, right? Disgusting. Why do they allow these tactics? Are you kidding me? You can potentially protect Explosion, and this is pre-nerf Explosion, so it's gonna do big damage. But you know what's better than doing big damage with a move that kills you? Doing big damage with a move that doesn't kill you. How about that? I don't know, seeing Forretress next to losers like Ledian and Yanma feels weird. I mean, it's not next to them. It's next to losers like Sneasel and Gligar. Speaking of losers next to Yanma and Ledian, Ariados. It's an Ariados. Horrible typing, horrible stats, horrible moves. Look at this. Spiderweb. You can combo it with Mean Look from Murkrow, and now they're really trapped. Scary Face, oh I'm scared. Leech Life, 15 base power, no thanks. Sludge Bomb. It is a stab move with reasonable base power. Too bad, it's literally the worst offensive type in the game. No. I shudder to even call this Johto's finest. Garbage. Granbull. Granbull Fantasy. A really good attack. Super slow. Not yet a fairy. It's not in Johto's finest. It's not that bad. This is getting very late game. This is almost the end of the Shadow Labs. If you're gonna purify this thing, that's a big investment, and you get a really, really slow normal type that can hit hard. I'm not gonna call this useless. How much is normal coverage worth? Not much. I'm not impressed. I'm gonna say this is horrific. If you got this at the very beginning of the game, I would probably put it above Furret. I'd rather do the big amount of damage than go first and do mediocre damage, but that's not happening. He also has pretty fun animations. His jaw goes crazy. Ugh. So Vibrava has shockingly bad stats. I think it's much worse than you would think. I also think that Flygon isn't as good as you think either. It's got 100 attack and 100 speed, which are okay, but I mean, they're not that great, right? We're gonna put it bottom of acceptable. This is one of the last Pokemon I think is actually worth purifying, because it's the best Earthquaker in the game. And you get the Earthquake TM, like 2 battles after Vibrava. They're just telling you, like, hey, you stab Earthquake with this thing. And stab Earthquake in this game has no penalty, right? It's full damage on both enemies. And your partner, so I hope they have a way to avoid it. They can protect. I think it is actually worth the investment to purify this. And although Vibrava does suck, it's not going to be Vibrava for long. Pretty much as soon as you purify it, it's going to be able to go to Flygon. If you're going to use Vibrava, though, you definitely need to invest the Earthquake TM into it, because Sand Tomb is not going to do it. I think you can also give it Fire Blast, that's nice. Raikou, Lord of Thunder. I don't think there's going to be much controversy about this one. Everybody knows Raikou's really good. It's definitely better than Ampharos once you actually get Raikou, but Raikou is pretty much the last Pokemon in the game that's worth purifying. Combos really well with Suicune, because if it's raining, then Suicune does more damage with Surf, and Raikou never misses with Thunder. It's really good. I think the only debate about this is if it's worth putting up here because it's so late. It only really is available in the very last area of the game, Realgam Tower, because it's the last encounter in the Shadow Labs. But you can time flute it to instantly purify it, and what else are you time fluting? And that's good to go. Really fast, really strong. Definitely the best of the 3 beasts, but unfortunately also the latest, by a huge margin. Sunflora. Sunflora is pretty bad. But luckily, its evolution Sunflourish is really good, so it's a grass-fire type, which is so much better than pure grass. It actually makes it one of the only Pokemon in the game that can take advantage of both halves of Sunny Day, right? Because you get to Solar Beam, and you get Stab on that, and you also get Stab on your fire moves that actually get powered up. So I'm really, really glad that they finally gave this thing an evolution in Generation 9. I guess they sort of hinted at that with the Sunflora, like, minigame for the gym trial. But it doesn't get a Gen 9 evolution? This thing's horrible. It's so bad. Why do they keep doing this? I don't understand why Sunflora is so bad. So with Magikarp to Gyarados, Magikarp's really bad, right? But you get rewarded for using it because Gyarados is really good. Sunkern. Sunkern, before Solo Wishiwashi, had literally the worst stats in the game. So it's a punishment to use it. What's the reward? Sunflora. It's not a reward. You just get punished again. And I know it's happening. It's happening already. There's the Delhi Flora lobby in full force. Okay, so I never actually explained what the Snag Swap challenge was and why there's the Ouroboros on the right. So in the Snag Swap challenge, which I did to prepare for this tier list, it was a run of Colosseum where you could only use the 2 most recent snags. So that sort of forced me to get experience with every single Pokemon. One of the pairs we had to use was Sunflora Delibird. And we ended up beating one of, like, the main late game bosses, so a battle that is supposed to be difficult, with Sunflora and Delibird. And it wasn't that difficult. I don't even think it took us a double-digit number of tries. Think about everything we had to go through before that. We had to stop dead in our tracks for about an hour and a half, beating up Sunkerns, Hoppips, and Ledibuzz in order to purify. And even after doing that, and even further grinding, we had to come up with a strategy. And keep in mind that all of this is being done by somebody who has thousands of hours of Pokemon experience and does this close to professionally. And I had constant advice and research from about 40 average viewers. That is not your average experience. The average player is gonna catch Sunflora, is gonna catch Delibird, realize within 1 or 2 battles that they are beyond any hope of ever doing damage, and they're gonna box them forever. Sunflora sucks. The only thing it can do is Sunny Day Solar Beam. And it's not even that fast considering Chlorophyll. Your only move is a grass move. Grass is ass. So is Sunflora. Delibird. Amazon Subprime. He's got a sack full of coal just for you. It really doesn't get much worse than Delibird. Dies in 1 hit. That would be okay if it killed the enemy in one hit. It doesn't. What's the opposite of a Christmas miracle? Oh, it's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, obviously that's it. I never saw that movie. Please don't unsubscribe. The Grinch didn't ruin Christmas. This thing did. Ho ho horrible. I mean, the main function of Delibird is to be like a Christmas character Pokemon. I will say this, because we've been saying a lot about how horrible Pokemon are. Not every Pokemon has to be good. I think some Pokemon can be bad, and that actually makes the overall experience better. Some Pokemon can be bad. When 80% of the roster looks like this, maybe some things need to be changed, okay? So from here on out, this is where we get a series of Pokemon that would be really good, so I mean, no more memes. Except they're not in the game. All these Pokemon are super duper late, and not really worth purifying. In fact, Miltank, Absol, Houndoom, Tropius, Metagross, and Tyranitar are all part of a series of battles. You actually don't get any breaks in between them. We can't really make fun of these Pokemon, but most of them are actually pretty good. I don't want to put them in Johto's finest or horrific or bad. That's why we have the Tyranitardy tier, because they're late to the party. Although they're going to be in the Tyranitardy tier, I'm going to theorize about where they would be if you got them earlier. So Heracross, best bug in the series at this point. Really strong, 125 base attack. The biggest chat of Johto. Really wish it was in the game. So it has Brick Break in its starting move pool, and it gets Mega Horn pretty quickly. If you got this earlier, it would definitely be acceptable. Probably comparable to Medicham. Skarmory. So Skarmory specializes in defense, which you don't really care about. But if you're gonna specialize in defense, you may as well be invincible, which Skarmory is. It's probably the single best brick wall you can put out as you toss balls. And you don't even need to purify it for that. This is actually kind of useful. And on offense, it's not actually that bad. Forretress hits a little harder, but Skarmory does get Stab Drill Peck. If you got this earlier, I'd probably put it either bottom of bad or like very top of horrific. Miltank. Not as bad as you would think, much faster than you would think. 100 base speed is actually kind of good. It gets Defense Scroll Rollout, which is a meme, you definitely shouldn't do that. But it also has Stab Body Slam, which is not a meme. That actually hits respectably hard. And it gets Milk Drink, which we covered when we talked about Synthesis. Recovery moves don't matter at all. But it does have one. So, Tyranitardy, but I would probably put it middle of bad. I think it's actually, like, better than Furret in almost every way. But Furret's actually in the game. And Furret's cuter. Absol. Well, no Stab Dark in this generation, unfortunately, but it does have 130 base attack and Swords Dance. So you can do that and then return. Of course, you won't be doing that because you'll never be purifying this thing. Theoretically, there is a setup you could run that is not a complete waste of your time. So I would probably put Absol like top of horrific, bottom of bad. It's an ill omen if this thing is actually on the field. Houndoom. I'm gonna say that if you could choose a non-legendary to start with, out of all of these, I would actually choose Houndoom. There is an alternate universe where this is the single best Pokemon in the game. 90 base speed is great and more than enough to outspeed everything, and 110 special attack with 2 amazing stab types that it actually has moves to use. It gets Flamethrower and it gets Crunch. Why isn't it in the game? Sad. I would put this in S tier if it were earlier, which it is in XD. Ooh. I mean, I would also become a Dark type if Game Freak made me good but didn't put me in the games. Justice for Houndoom. Why, of all of the Johto garbage that they give to you, why do they still have to make Houndoom late game? Tropius. So I made this Tyranitardy tier for all of these late game winners. Not you. No. No! You will go to Johto's finest. No. It's not a Johto Pokemon, but it is in spirit. This thing's terrible. Shockingly bad. One of the worst single stage Pokemon of all time. The stats are just not there, and it's a grass type. Have fun Sunny Beaming. You're not actually gonna have fun. So it does get the dishonor of being the only non-Johto Pokemon to be in Johto's finest. Don't accuse us of lacking diversity. Hoenn's loamiest. It's even a grass type. Tropius's actual best use is as an H-employee, but there are no HMs in this game, which is a good thing, but it's a bad thing for Tropius. Metagross. It's disgusting how strong this thing is. I'd call it gross. Yeah, great typing, amazing stats, okay moves. I think it has like Metal Claw, and unfortunately no physical psychic moves, but I mean, it's really strong, right? It's Metagross. You can't go wrong with Metagross, unless it's not in the game, which it really isn't. Too bad. If you were to get this in place of maybe Entei, I'd probably put it where Entei is. Just a really, really solid Pokemon. Also nice to be immune to Intimidate in a game with only double battles. That's nice. Pretty much the only place you can use Metagross is in the very final boss battle, which is against Evis. And Evis, as far as Pokemon final bosses go, is decently strong. I think people hype him up because he uses a very flashy strategy, right? He uses Skill Swap, Slowking, and Slacking to remove Truant from Slacking. This is something I always say when people bring up gimmick strategies. You can do a gimmick setup that then makes you stronger. But why don't you just do something that's strong in the first place? Why are you wasting your time with these gimmick setups? This is something that applies to StarCraft 2, which is not this game. But StarCraft 2 is a tactics game, and something that new players in particular really struggle with is when your opponent does something crazy you don't expect and catches you off guard, and then you lose. Well, here's the thing. If they're doing something crazy, it's probably worse than whatever the actual strategy that everybody uses is. So use the actual strategy and kill them. You would never use Skill Swap Slacking. You would just use two Pokemon that hit hard and kill the opponent before they swap any skills. Don't waste your time with gimmicks. Kill them. Speaking of killing them, Tyranitar. This thing one-shots everything. I wish it was in the game. It's literally the last Pokemon. You're probably gonna Master Ball it. You should, it's really dangerous. I don't think I need to justify how strong Tyranitar is. One of the best Pokemon in the history of the franchise. Deals a ton of damage. It's invincible. It's kind of slow though, but it has crazy moves. It learns pretty much every move you could want. If you get hit by Tyranitar, you're probably dead. Oh, hang on, somebody's at my door. I have to answer this. Hey, voiceover imported cheese for the third and final time. I just want to let you know that what you're about to see actually did happen. Now, I know that nobody has ever lied on the internet before, especially in an edited video. I'm mostly saying this because I very much plan to have a staged interruption by doorbell in one of my future videos, but that's not this one. So this actually did happen. Have faith. Alright, I'm back. This is not a bit if you're watching this in the premium. This actually happened. They heard about how unholy this roster was. They knew that the shadows were falling over the land. I literally got a Jehovah's Witness pamphlet. They're trying to purify this roster. If you're a Japanese speaker, this is a Jehovah's Witness pamphlet. It even says on the back, JW. There's no good news to be heard here. I was wondering how to end this list. Well, there you go.